Let me show you how different infills can change the flexibility of our filament. Printing out our swatches can result in adjusted flexibility. So sometimes we are printing from filaments that are not so flexible, like the 95A, but using the correct infill will make the filament very flexible. The structures will make the filament very flexible. So using the right filament will adjust the way it can be. Sometimes we have more elasticity just by changing the type of filament, the type of infill that we use. I would like to show you the rectilinear pattern and why we should think about the ways we align the angle of the infill. So if you look at the rectilinear pattern, this is my pattern, and the rectilinear pattern works as a traditional fabric. If you take any traditional fabric that is not stretchy, but if you flip it with the angle of 45 degrees, then it's going to be stretchy. So let's say that I have this piece of fabric. It's not very much stretchy. If I stretch it this way, then it's not working. If I stretch it this way, then you can see that it's actually not stretchy. But if I pull it in 45 degrees, let me just get a hang of it, then it's gonna be quite flexible. I'm not sure if you can see it, maybe I can move around. Okay, so if I pull it, if I stretch it in 45 degrees, then it's gonna be quite flexible. Not as elastic, but it's quite flexible. And the reason for it is that the way the fibers inside of the textile are aligned, when we are using the power to push the fibers diagonally, then they align, so they create a little bit of space. This is used, for example, when you are creating tight clothing, a dress a slim fit dress that should fit very well, then you use the property of aligned fibers inside of the fabrics to make the fabric a little bit more stretchy, so the person inside of the clothing can breathe. So the same thing happens with our rectilinear structure, and every structure that has two-way crosses that are aligned vertically and horizontally with the walls. And when you have our swatch, and the swatch is printed with the lines being diagonal, then what it does is that when I try to stretch it this way, then it stretches a lot. When I try to stretch it this way, it also stretches a lot because I'm pushing in the diagonal to the lines that I have now. Since this is the horizontal line, and this one is now the 45 degrees. So you can see it's much more flexible than if I try to stretch it like this. So choosing the way of the filament is being printed and aligned also can impact the way our swatch or our textile will be flexible. Of course, if we did the same thing, but if we aligned the fibers inside of the 3D printed textile to be aligned with the vertical and the horizontal wall, then it wouldn't work in this way, it would be the other way around. So it's always what is crossing the 45 degrees of the alignment of the fibers. So if we had it aligned in the vertical and horizontal section, then this would be very hard to push, but it would be very easy to push in this way. Let me check the flexibility of gyro. The gyroid structures, as I told you, is the one that is most used because it's the structure that is the most flexible. So with the rectilinear, the gyroid structure, since it's bubbles, can be pushed almost in every way, and it's quite flexible almost in every way. Okay, it's also going to stretch a little bit more on the 45 degrees, and it's gonna be sturdier where you follow the main lines, because you will see that the bubbles have one line to be much thicker than the other ones. One line is supportive and it's thicker, and the other ones, one line is the support line. It's going to be thicker. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the lines are the ones that are now horizontal are thicker, and then the ones that are creating the rest of the bubbles are thinner. So when I try to push it like this, there is quite a retention. If I choose to push it vertically, like in 45 degrees, then I can do that as well. It's much easier. But as you can see, like you can do a lot of stretching with the gyroid and it always comes back to the original size and it doesn't break easily. The last one that I want to show you is the honeycomb. And as I told you, like the honeycomb is really tough to stretch. As if there wasn't any structure, it's very, very tough to stretch. So it's better to use for clothing that we want to be quite rigid and that we know that needs to be firm. So when I'm trying to push it and make it flexible, then it's very hard for me to do. Different infills can impact the flexibility of our filaments. Even though I was printing with the filaments of Shore Hardness 95A, I can achieve with the correct settings and the correct infill, a filament that resembles the one of 82A, which is much more flexible.